Moving right along. This time, you are going to hear some claims that are similar to those of Gaddafi. And I will just let you judge the situation, but you will witness what I call diversion, which is something that the black Christians, black Muslim, black Jews, Hebrew Israelites, and as a matter of fact, whether they're black or not, as long as they're into those religions, whenever you bring facts, they just, you know what I'm saying, beat around the bushes. So let's have a look.
What's your take on what's going on in Sudan and the atrocity that's occurring in Darfur, and the fact that the black community here and the black leadership seems not to be embracing that issue?
First, my brother, when we were called Negroes, we did not have an international presence. The Honorable Marcus Garvey tried to give us an international presence, and of course he was very successful, but the government feared an international presence. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad single-handedly turned us from Negroes to accepting ourselves no matter what shade of color we were, due to the Willie Lynch syndrome and the going in and out of our women by our former slave masters and their children, that gave us all these different shades, and then they divided us by these shades. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked us to refer to ourselves as the black man, the original people of the earth. And when we saw ourselves as black people, then every person of color on the earth, we identified with them. So in the 60s, nothing could happen on the African continent that black people in America were not concerned with. Nothing could happen in the Caribbean or in Brazil or in Central America or in the islands of the Pacific, where black people were concerned, that we didn't feel them, because a nervous system was being created for black people, that we felt the pain of one another wherever we were on the earth. But after Malcolm was assassinated, and Martin was assassinated, and Elijah Muhammad was gone, notice the shift in language. We were no longer black. In New York City, there were several black shows. There was Black News. Was it Positively Black? There was the national program with Tony Brown called Black Journal.
Right.
After the death of these giants, now the wise people said, let's change the language so we can change their focus and give them a new understanding of who they are. So subtly, there was no more Black News, no more Positively Black. Black Journal became Tony's Journal. And all over America, wherever black was describing that program, Black Star in Baltimore, that left. And then the new language was the minority, the disadvantaged. Then came African American. And what was happening is a severing of the nervous system that black had made, tying us to the struggle of black people all over the world. So now there can be a Darfur. Who cares? That's not us. There can be a Rwanda and Burundi. Who cares? That's not us. So we don't feel suffering until there's a Katrina. Oh, that's us. But what's going on in Haiti, that's not us. What's going on in Brazil, in Costa Rica, in Colombia, in Nicaragua, in Guatemala, that is not us. So the language shift. Now let's go to Darfur. If you notice, on the mall, 95% of those who were present were Caucasian. I'm not going to denigrate their sensitivity to suffering, but the reason that blacks were not there is because the blacks who could make something happen were never invited. It's not that black people don't care about Darfur, but Darfur on the scale of suffering in the world pales, because now I heard there were 180,000 dead, from that to 400,000, okay? 2 million displaced. But in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, 3.5 million have died. No talk. In northern Uganda, with the Lord's Resistance Army and the walking at night for the children trying to run away so that they would not be kidnapped and made to fight against the government in Kampala. No talk. Why Sudan? For the last 15 years, Sudan has been on the agenda for regime change. Regime change because Sudan housed Palestinian resistance fighters. Sudan housed Osama bin Laden and put him out. But Sudan is an Islamist regime that is against the state of Israel. Now let's stop there for a moment. See, now they said, well, these are some Arabs in the Sudan enslaving Africans. So naturally, this is the language of Arabs enslaving Africans. This is so clever, and the media pushes that so that there would come a natural hatred of blacks for Arabs, so that Arabs look like the real culprits here. Well, you don't know this, but I and my national, international representative, Akbar Muhammad, who's in the studio with me, who I want to speak on this in just a few moments.
I'll stop right there, and we'll go back to the diversion later. In the meantime, we will look at that person, Akbar Muhammad, because Ishmael Allah has already done a good job at exposing this dude. So let's have a look.
Farrakhan was livid at what Larry did. But before we get to that part, it says that Larry started taking other wives while he was in Africa and siring them. He's 66 years old. He claimed to be following his leader, Farrakhan, 76, who announced to his flock about 5 years ago that he himself, Farrakhan, has 3 wives and about 12 children, from 2 of them in addition to the 9 by his real wife. So again, the question has to be asked, was that even necessary for you to be taking shots at Dr. Ben? No, it wasn't necessary. Farrakhan got 3 wives. This dude got 3 wives. So they got these jump offs, and you worried about what Dr. Ben is. Dr. Ben is not taking $323,000. Dr. Ben is not robbing the people and misleading the people. He's a scholar that's been doing his job for over 60 years. And in doing his job of teaching us our true history, you then go to Black Power conferences and you attack Dr. Ben. You attack Dr. Clark. You almost make a mockery of Dr. Khaled at Black Power conferences in order to prove your point, while simultaneously of you putting a fornication tag on Dr. Ben, which should not even apply to him. You are in an organization where your leadership is taking all of these multiple wives, stealing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, pleading guilty to it all,